Most of us are familiar with the story of Noah's Ark. However, not all of us have gotten the chance to have read at least one other flood story prior to reevaluating the Genesis story. Consider para and deucalion as you read. What elements are similar? How do the stories differ? The story of the flood in Genesis weaves together the accounts of the Yahwist and priestly writer. The two versions of the flood story contain different versions of God's interaction after the waters recede. The Yahwist portrays God simply as declaring that he will never again destroy every living creature as he did in the flood. In the priestly version, God's promise is presented in a more elaborate and formal way. Covenant suggests that God recognizes the flaws of humans and accepts them anyway, even laying down his rainbow as a visual reminder of his covenant. By contrast, the Prose Edda depicts rainbow to their imminent gods, which is broken during Ragnarok. Ragnarok seems all fire, thunder, poison, and water, with the ash tree trembling in the middle, but it also signifies a shift from an older world, with imminent gods dallying in the lives of humans, to a more ordered existence where they are forced to remain separate, watching. This is another difference the Prose Edda has from the flood stories we've read thus far. In The Hero with a Thousand Faces, Campbell discusses many variations on the hero myth. His purpose is to show the underlying structure of that myth and help us understand why humans keep telling versions of it over and over in culture after culture. Review page 220 through 224 for a detailed view of the components of the hero's journey. While not a trickster, Gilgamesh is portrayed as behaving badly towards his subject and gods. When making note of Andrew George's insight from the epic, we find a hero develops through both successes and failures. Lasting achievements are the only way to achieve immortality. We see the opposition between nature and culture, or wildness and civilization. The king and ruling class have very specific and serious responsibilities to the gods and society, and a man is responsible to his family. Because the text uses a very in-depth evaluation system to tell you about the Epic of Gilgamesh, I will not be summarizing it for you this week. This week, you'll have two discussion questions. The first one is to identify similarities and differences between Ovid's flood story and the Genesis story. The second is to give me a brief introduction to the Epic of Gilgamesh, including the theorist you might use to evaluate the text and why. Welcome to Destruction and Heroes.